Well, hello. Let's talk about the Ténarèze. So the occasion for this was this bottle, which I've bought a bottle of Daronson, 2009 Armagnac, not from Bas Armagnac, but from the Ténarèze region. So we need to talk about what that means. So Armagnac, the other French brandy producing region in the southwest of France. But typically in America, at least the nerds of the category have thought of Armagnac as tantamount to Bas Armagnac, which is this kind of. If you go pull up, if you have a chance. Actually, I have one on my phone. I'm gonna pull it up right now. If I did any editing, like I would actually put this in, but I don't know if you can even see this. But basically, so if you look at a map of Armagnac, that bit in the east, and that little hunk in the east, is the Bas Armagnac, right? That's where most of the Armagnac comes from. And then on the way on the outside, sort of on the west is the Bas Armagnac. And then on the east and kind of on the outside is the Haut Armagnac, where there are almost no producers. Right in that middle region, that's the Ténarèze. That's where we're interested in. So different soil types. In the Bas Armagnac, you've got a lot of clay soil. In the Ténarèze, you're getting lots more gravel, which is interesting. So it makes it better for a lot of wine production, which is one of the reasons why you don't see a whole lot of Ténarèze Armagnacs floating around. It's actually more, value for money for them to make wine than it is for them to make brandy. Nevertheless, there are a couple of them out there, and I thought for the purposes of this video, we would run through them due to my enormous love of the Daronson, sort of driving this along. All right, so what do we got? Pellehaut, we got two of these. This is the one the Ténarèze you're probably most likely to come across in the U.S. Pellehaut Selection. I think this is a 5-year-old. At least in 750, it's listed as a 5-year-old. And then we got a couple of sort of European exclusives. This is the I'm going to mess all these names up. Pébérère, 10-year-old. They make some much older Armagnacs, but this is their 10-year-old. Janneau, single distillery, 18-year-old. And then we got some special samples taken from my friend Rachel in a trade. So this is a Grangerie, 2000 vintage, 18-year-old. Pour the rest of this in here. And another Pellehaut. This is a 1989 vintage. Rachel lists this as a 29-year-old. But everyone else seems to think this is a 30-year-old, so I'm going to assume they probably don't even list the year on there, but it's probably 30 or the high end of 29. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm going to say 30. So the deal with this is these first three are all bottled at 43 or 42%. These two are bottled slightly higher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of water. Hold on, let me get my dripper here. If I can find it. No, it's gone. Here it is. Ugh. I'm going to take my dripper. Sorry about that. I'm going to add a couple of drops to these first three, but I'm going to try these last two neat and then add water and kind of go back through them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 4 or 5. It's not another one to this. All right. So this is interesting, right? We're focusing on an Armagnac region that doesn't get a huge amount of attention, but I think has a lot of potential, despite the fact that they're all making Côte de Gascon wines because that's that's a big money maker. It's cheaper to sell, or it's more lucrative to sell a ton of cheap wine than a little bit of Armagnac that you have to age in your cellar for years. And I understand that, I get that. All right, so let's start with the Pellehaut. This is they make a whole line of things, but the importation of this seems to have kind of gotten more difficult. This is their entry level. This is a Charles Neal selection. Charles Neal is kind of one of the OGs of American Armagnac importing. I think this is pretty much 100% Ugni Blanc. I think this is 5 years old. No idea what the distillation strength is, but let's dive into it. Probably all of these were bottled circa 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. I don't really know, but recently, but not that recently. These aren't high demand products. All right, here we go. On the nose for the Pellehaut. It's quite fresh. I mean, there's definitely oak in there, but the spirit is kind of providing its own character to this. So you're getting, I mean, what I'm getting is kind of pear juice note. Pear juice, kind of more aromatic pear than like your standard Anjou pear and that kind of stuff. Some peach, then some like golden raisins. And also masses of black pepper. It's interesting because I think some of the black pepper is coming from the casks, but I also think some of the pepperiness is actually coming from the spirit. There's a kind of layered nature to the pepper here. So, first of all, it does not smell like the Dorançon at all. Incidentally, I forgot to mention it, but in one of the last videos I just did, my friend Jose did slam me in a blind with the 40-year-old version of Dorançon. So, I kind of got a little bit of Ténarèze focus done in advance. And that's okay, because I like the Dorançon stuff very much, although I can't afford it, really. Lots of dried fruit in here. Do they dry pear? There's some dried raisin, dried grape, raisin, but also some dried pear. And then some like just kind of dusty characters, like dry dust, some old tea bags, some like kind of used coffee grinds, like the stuff you dig out of your French press. Something floral, like a dried flower note, but like dirty dried flower if you were sort of to cover it in like old dust. Hints of like like rust, like a rusty old car or something like that. A little cardamom, little like a cardamom pod. Some like slightly green cardamom. A little birch beer. It's nice. I love the freshness on this. It's not a knockout nose by any means, but it's simple and very pleasant. And, kind of really actually kind of refreshing if you tried a lot of, 20, 30-year-old Armagnacs and just have been pounded in the face by those, cinnamony, woody notes that they always deliver. This youth is kind of nice. On the palate, much more expressive, actually, than on the nose. On the nose, it's actually a little bit closed. Just a hair bit closed. But here I'm getting, the dried pepper thing, or the black pepper, ground pepper, dried clay is what I meant to say. Kind of a general dustiness. But the fruit is right there. The pear, the raisin, dried pear, kind of almost a dried light lychee note, like a lychee fruit. You dried it? Does that even happen? Do people dry out lychee fruit? That's kind of what I'm getting though. Oh, and a little bit of like an orange thing, like a, not even like orange. I was gonna say orange zest, but it's almost more like just a hair bit of like Grand Marnier in there, a little bit, and then you're getting those sort of woody tannic notes. Tea bags, used coffee grinds, those things from the nose are throwing up again. But it's really okay. So this is very forward on my palate. Nothing in here is it's even getting to my molars. It's all stopping halfway through my mouth. That being said, if you're willing to accept the youth of this, this is kind of nicely balanced. This is nice. Cardamom, clove, nutmeg. A little bit of like forest honey, like honeydew honey, mixed in with the more, the fruity and the woody notes. This is nice. It's young. It's far from inexpensive. I think I paid like $60 for this, which is, a bit high for something that's 5 years old and only 43%. But I like it. I'm going to give this 84 points out of 100. And it's a fun change up if you've been, from whatever you're drinking, really woody Armagnacs up to malts or up to anything else. It's a little bit different. This is fun. All right, but let's move on to the, so this is Chateau de Palma, Pébérère. They make some really, really old versions of this. There's some ones going back to the 60s. But this is just a little 10-year-old, bottled at 42% alcohol. The did I mention the Pellehaut was 43? It's 43. This is 42. This is also the only one of these. I think all the rest of these are all Ugni Blanc. That's something that's actually pretty common in the Ténarèze. They really like their Ugni Blanc almost as much as Cognac does. But these guys are mixing in some Colombard and Petit Manseng, I think it's the other grape. Lots of grapes allowed in Armagnac, and they're kind of stretching their wings with that. All right, on the nose for this Pomès-Pébérère 10-year-old. Distilled by François Faget. Apparently, I don't know who that is, but that's who made it. So I mean, I don't know if you can see the color on these, but this is much, much darker than either of these other two, and it kind of was suggesting a lot of oak influence, and it kind of comes through in the nose. There is a ton of French oak on this. By the way, both of these first two have their little display boxes. I'm gonna grab these, which look, almost identical. Look at this, like they both have that sort of creamy yellow color to them. I think these people know each other. Anyhow, back to the Armagnac. Cinnamon, coffee cake. Coffee cake is a really common characteristic in Armagnac, and boy, is it showing up here. English breakfast tea, clove, cardamom, clove, lots more clove. A little ginger powder, there's some floral hints. It's almost more like a coffee floral, like floral Ethiopian coffee is what I'm getting on this. You've sort of ground fresh. It's a little bit monolithic. There's a lot of oak going on in this, but I'm enjoying it. I can get into that. But then there's a little bit of a grape, of a fruity grapey thing coming through here. There's a little bit of like really good Moscato actually creeping through. Some like floral Perry Moscato notes, like a little, like you put a little bit of Moscato, really good Moscato d'Asti in with your French oak. And a little bit of that sort of, pear, aromatic pear note. Very oaky, though. The oak is running the show. I know they have vintage versions of this, and I'm curious enough to probably buy one eventually, but man, I'd be a little scared if it was, the same kind of oak that this thing was in. On the palate, it works. I mean, it actually, so it's still woody, very woody, but it's not excessively tannic. It's not ripping my mouth out. It's not, I don't feel like I'm just chewing on a board made of French oak. There's other things going on in here, and it works actually very well. There's a cinnamon candy thing kind of leading the way here. Cinnamon candy. Coffee cake. Again, lots of coffee cake. Just straight up coffee. Tea. What kind of tea? Like a kind of a mixed black tea note. Lots of wood, drying wood on the back end. Which I like. I like a good dry finish. I can get into that. But then we're getting that sort of slight hint of aromatic pear on the finish again. That little Moscato hint, which is kind of lifting this up a little bit. And and actually a really obvious floral note. What is that? Almost like if you stewed some wildflowers, like not just dried flowers, but like you're stewing them, or you're like making a wildflower eau de vie or something like that is what's going on in that floral note. It's very interesting. Some white pepper in this, actually less pepper than in the Pellehaut, at least for my palate, despite the huge obnoxious amount of wood on this. Yeah, peppery, very woody. A little like topsoil, like pebbly topsoil. If there were some like little rocks mixed in with your topsoil. Yeah, I like this. So it's bordering on too much wood for me, but it's not crossing that line. I like this a lot, especially it's reasonably priced too. I would give this an 84 plus out of 100. If you see this in your travels and you like wood, or even if you like Moscato and wood, I think this is a great little grab. And I'm still curious enough to try a vintage version, even though I'm really hoping they use slightly less active casks for that. All right, moving on to the Janneau single distillery, 18-year-old. So this is let's see if I can reach this. All right, so Janneau doesn't have the best reputation among Armagnac producers because they're basically sourcing from a lot of other distilleries and blending, and they put in these big obnoxious bottles, bottled low proof, and it's generally, I haven't tried one, but they are regarded as not great. This is a different animal. This is 18 years old. It's a single distillery, so it's all their own stuff, and it is double distilled. So they're actually using something more akin to a cognac setup to this. All these others, everything else in this lineup is made in a traditional column still. This, I think, is made in more like a double alembic setup. So that's very interesting. It's not a lot of people, a lot of other producers I know of in Armagnac doing this. It doesn't say so on the bottle, but on the website they state this is 100% Ténarèze. Not the case for their non-single distillery bottling, so watch out. Watch out for the things in the sort of flat, teardroppy shaped bottles. Those are not this. This, watch out for the sort of little scotchy looking tube. That's kind of the giveaway. Anyways, let's try this out. I believe this is. They have no statement of the grape makeup, but I'm guessing majority Ugni Blanc, maybe some Folle Blanche and Baco in there, but it's not actually stated. But again, double distilled and bottled at 43%, which is fine. That's a really interesting nose. You're kind of finding a halfway point between Armagnac and Cognac. Really, not even halfway. It's still majority Armagnac, but you're getting a little bit of that Armagnac-y lightness of touch in there. In some ways, the closest thing I can compare this to would be that Catoctin Creek I reviewed a couple of months ago. Their Bottle and Bond XO. This is kind of in that same territory of like, is it Cognac? Is it Armagnac? Well, it's kind of doing this sort of happy medium thing. It's floral, it's aromatic, but it's still, at the same time, raisiny, pruny, lots of dried fruit. There's some confectioner's fudge, so fudge that's all sugar, no chocolate in here. But then you're getting the sort of the dried dirt, the coffee grounds again, like different kinds of coffee grounds. So there's some fresh coffee grounds, but then there's some like used gross coffee grounds that you sort of pulled out of your French press. The coffee cake note, that cinnamony note again, that's back. Lots of black pepper. That little pear hint again. I think that's like the black pepper pear thing is kind of becoming like the hallmark of Ténarèze for me. Little tiny floral grapey hints, but nothing as distinct as in like the Pébérère. The Pébérère. But then there's like almost like a mustard seedy kind of note, like not like made Dijon mustard or yellow mustard. We're talking like the ground mustard seeds. That's there's a little bit of that in there. It's a really good nose, actually. It's very solid on the palate. And by the way, this is not very pricey either. So if this is good, it's probably worth chasing down, even though the other cognac drinkers are probably going to poop on it. On the palate, so probably, if I'm reflecting, it's probably a little bit narrower on the palate than it is on the nose. There's a little bit less going on, but it's still actually very good. Again, we're kind of getting a hybrid between the lighter aromatic character of like a good grower cognac versus the aggressive woodiness of sort of a traditional Armagnac. So lots of flowers, but also lots of dried fruit and wood. Prunes, raisins, black pepper, Darjeeling tea, both leaves and like stewed tea. Like all those coffee grinds notes again. Again, fresh and also used. There's a licorice note in this. Like black licorice, not salted, just regular old like black Twizzlers or something. And of course the masses of coffee cake. Coffee cake is kind of like the dead giveaway from Armagnac for me. And it's pretty like overtly grapey. Not like in the Moscato way that the Pébérère is doing. It's just like much more straightforward, like, grapes. But it's very pleasantly so. This is quite good. Good long finish. I'm still tasting this. I would have a hard time seeing a lot of brandy drinkers disappointed in this. This is actually very well sorted. And it's going to hit a lot of palates, I feel like. Yeah, I'm going to give this an 85 plus out of 100. It's good. Actually, all three of these are pretty good. What do we got so far score-wise? We had a 84 for the Pellehaut selection. The Pébérère 10-year-old gets an 84 plus. And the Janneau 18, single distillery, again, different than the standard range, gets an 85 plus. All right, let's move on to the big boys. All right, so these are samples I've had from my friend Rachel. So what I'm going to do is I think I said this earlier, I'm going to try these neat, add a little bit of water, see how they develop, and try them again, and then I'm going to score them. So this is Chateau De La Grangerie, 2000 vintage, 18 years old. So probably bottled early 2019. Bottled at 48% though. I have no idea if they did any water reduction or if it was just 40% even. I can't tell you. It's also Cask 67 and was picked by K&L Wines in California. Rachel lives in California, which is why she could buy this. And I think it's 100% Ugni Blanc. Again, they like their Ugni Blanc and Ténarèze. So on the nose, extremely woody, very woody. I mean, I thought that the Pébérère was woody. This is actually bringing way more woodiness to the equation. But at the same time, it's actually still remaining kind of fresh. There's still a freshness to this, which I appreciate. I like. Prunes and dried cherry, lots of cinnamon. Like cinnamon where you've I don't know if you've ever done that thing where you're trying to mix like cinnamon and sugar, but a little bit of water gets into it, and the cinnamon and sugar kind of sticks together a little bit. That's kind of what I'm smelling right now. The cinnamon sugar balls. Cinnamon, not really coffee cake, almost like a cinnamon babka note. Cinnamon, not even like regular cinnamon cake. It smells like Red Hots. It smells like Red Hots. And then on top of that, we're going to throw some like Darjeeling tea, more Darjeeling, stovetop coffee, in a little mocha maker. White pepper, some like dry dirt. And there's some like mixed red and black fruity notes, actually. It smells a little bit like a Columbia Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, which isn't a note I break out very often, but I'm kind of getting it here. Yeah, it smells like a cab from Washington. And I'm kind of enjoying that. It's good. It's a good nose. It's very Armagnac-y nose. This is kind of what you sign up for, what you expect when you're buying an Armagnac. And I'm into that. On the palate, here we go. So I'm expecting tons of wood. So I think the MSRP on this is in the 60s, which is a steal. This is extremely good. If you are drinking like the, $150, $200 plus Encantadas, those guys, I plead with you, see if you can hunt down a bottle of this. Because I think it will absolutely hit your palate right on. Very woody. but still retains a freshness that I really like. Ground pepper, cinnamon coffee cake. We're hearing those notes a lot. Yeah, black pepper and coffee cake forever. But you kind of hunt around beyond that, and you're sort of also getting dried fruit, prunes, dates, sultanas, dried cherries, some overstewed tea, some overstewed coffee, like you left something in your French press for 20 minutes, and you're gonna drink it anyways. Not really like a cab note on this time. More like almost a Washington Merlot this time. That you've still delivering a little bit of red fruit, but you're left in the wood too long, and now it's it's a little woody. And more pepper, and more wood, and more coffee cake. And a little bit of like a floral note in there, just to lighten things up, but very, very wood driven. Quite monolithic, but I mean, it works. There's layers to the wood and the coffee cakeness and the pepper on this. I mean, I know if I sort of do a laundry note of a laundry list of notes, it sounds like exactly everything else here, but there's a depth to this which a lot of these others aren't approaching, which I appreciate. So I'm gonna add a couple squirts of water. When I was drinking this earlier, it took a squirt and a half, so I'm gonna add the same. And we'll come back to that in a minute, but first, let's do our second Pellehaut. This is a 1989, 29 and or 30-year-old from Armagnac-Ténarèze. Again, I think it's 100% Ugni Blanc, bottled circa 2019, somewhere in there, and 49.9% ABV. It smells old. It smells woody. Yeah, it's dusty attic notes, and just intense woodiness, like layered, intense woodiness. So old furniture, like old Victorian furniture, like you broke into the set of a Jane Austen movie and you stole all the furniture and you kind of smelled it all. Prunes, like prunes you sort of covered in black pepper. Some Maduro cigars, like aged Maduro cigars. The coffee cake notes are still there, but it's almost like they've sort of hit a gravitational singularity and collapsed in on themselves. So you're really smelling like almost like black hole coffee cake, like really dense, intense coffee cake. Clove, cardamom, dirt, all kinds of dirt, dry dirt, fresh topsoil, gravel. A little like a cup of not sun brew, cold brew coffee in this. It just smells old. And then right in the middle of it, like a handful of like sun-kissed raisins, like the cheap raisins that you give to your child to go to school with. Lots of fun. Again, I plead with you, if you are spending $200 on big name Armagnac, go buy a bottle of this. I think this will delight you. Let's try on the palate. Just big, woody, obnoxiously woody, endless finish on wood and more wood. But I kind of like it anyways. It's not like brutal wood like some of the I'm old. I was around back in the day when you could buy 18-year-old bourbons for nothing, and those would tear your mouth out much worse than this is. This is woody, but it's not and it's even pushing my boundaries a little bit on the woodiness. But it's not as woody as some of those old bourbons could get. And what's impressive is it's actually balancing it out with some other elements. That pear Moscato kind of note we were getting earlier, that's back. It's desperately trying to push itself and assert itself against the mountain of wood that is going on here. And it's failing, but I really admire the attempt, and it's really sort of adding something to the display here. Dense coffee cake, again, like the sort of just like coffee cake you could not cut with a freaking lightsaber. Christmas spices. It is Christmas in Southwest France. And yeah. Tea, again. Coffee, again. Lots of coffee grinds of all different sorts. Just straight up dirt. And lots of dried fruit. I know I'm repeating lots of the same notes, but they're kind of, appearing again. There's even a little bit of like a Cointreau note in there. Just a little hint of like an orange, like triple sec kind of note. And some absinthe too, like a little bit of an aniseed kind of thing going on. But more absinthe than just pure aniseed. This is good. It's a style. You have to be willing to accept the brutality of the wood coffee cake assault going on here. But if that's your thing, like you're gonna like this a lot. All right, I'm gonna give this also, a couple squirts of water. We'll come back to it. All right, back to the Grangerie 2000. With a little bit of water in it to kind of, not just soften it up, but also put it under pressure, see what it does. Brings out a lot more spice, actually, on the nose of this little Grangerie. So I'm getting a little bit more aromatic pear, but it's like aromatic pear covered in cardamom and cinnamon. It's interesting. It's almost like the aromatic fruity notes and the woody notes are still there, and they both step up, but they kind of separate a little bit. Yeah, that's lovely. There's a lot of pepperiness in there too. Still, it's a good nose. It's just undeniably a good nose. On the palate. With water? Oh God, that's nice. Much more measured, much more drinkable. And it isn't just the strength. I think it's also like the wood opens up a little bit with the addition of water. Brings out a little bit of sweetness, but not too much. We're still, very much on the dirt and the cinnamon and the kind of, coffee notes. But it feels like it opens up a little bit. There's a little bit of the lychee fruit note now coming through. That sort of dried lychee fruit note I mentioned, which I don't even know exists, but I'm going to use it anyways. This is terrific. This is very nice. And if the price point is as what it says on the K&L website, an absolute bargain, I'm going to give this 88 points, and encourage you to go out and grab it. Yeah, I don't know what to add beyond that. All right. But my palate is now just very woody and torn apart by wood and coffee cake now. So I'm going to take a little bit of water. It's a very hot day here in Chicago. This is maybe not the best day to be sampling Armagnacs. I've had these in a cool room, the only cool room in the house, actually. But, you know, maybe not the best time to be showing these things off, but what the hell, why not? Back to the Pellehaut, 1989, now with a little bit of water in it. Way more spicy with water. It was monolithic before I added water, and it still is monolithic now. It's just the monolith has become, it's made out of spice instead of just wood. And I'm still kind of enjoying it, even though, gun to my head, this isn't really my style. You know, I want a little bit more freshness in my brandies, but I still have to appreciate how good this is. On the palate, oh, even less development on the palate, really. Pretty much the same, more drinkable. A little bit more white pepper coming out. But it's not changing a whole lot with water, and that's okay. Aside from just becoming, you know, a little bit more open, a little bit more, you know, it's popping that first button on its shirt. Oh, that's good. I appreciate this style. This is a big showcase of just spice and wood and spice with a little bit of fruit in there to kind of lift things up. This is well, I can't get to 90 on this. It doesn't quite have the depth for me to sort of pull out a 90-point score, but I will go 89 plus. And again, if you were in a place where this is available, I think it's a little bit of a steal. So, especially compared to, you know, the price that other Armagnacs are getting to. This is kind of the end of the era of value-priced old Armagnac. So, grab them while you can. Let me confirm that. God, it really is right there. This is a style that so many people who drink Armagnac are going to go for when they chase after the big names. It's right there, 89 plus. All right, so what do we got score-wise? Pellehaut Selection, 84. Pébérère 10-year-old, 84 plus. In its own way, it's its own kind of wood monster, but with that funky Moscato note, which is fun. The Janneau 18, again, single distillery, double distilled, 85 plus. Grangerie 2000, 88, and the Pellehaut 89. This gets an 89 plus. So good showing for the Ténarèze today. That being said, none of these are delivering quite the character of this Daronson 2009. Wait, what side was I showing you? This side, right? So what's this doing that these aren't, right? I suspect the difference is actually in the fermentation side of things, having tried all these. There's definitely a terroir difference between this and Bars Armagnac, but not enough for this to have this sort of funky, fruity thing that it's doing. I suspect the difference is actually wild fermentation. Daron Sun is very open about the fact that they're using native yeasts when they ferment. And I suspect the fermentation is going on for a while. They don't mention that. None of these other producers, so far as I've checked, mention anything like that, which makes me think they're just pitching their yeast as normal. And that's okay. These are all great. But what I would love to see in the future, in the Ténarèze and in Armagnac in general, and in brandy in general, is the use of wild fermentation. I know it's a pain in the ass. I know, like, it just makes everything harder for lots and lots of reasons. But the results are there. Like, you can, like, the notes of fresh, fruity, floral character that wild fermentation brings would be well worth the efforts. The effort of bringing it in, alongside what everyone else is already doing, the transition to organic and sustainable farming. Like that's becoming a thing. Wild fermentation should become a thing too. And that's kind of all I got. Ténarèze, well worth your attention, especially like these two are like actually all of these except for maybe the entry level Pellehaut are really kind of bargains for what they are. So go check them out if you see them. And thanks for watching. And cheers.